Hey everyone, welcome back. All right, so for this third installment of the web series or video series of the AMT 1969 Plymouth GTX, we're going to go ahead and work on the interior. We're going to get these seats cut out. Try to anyway. Now, what I normally like to do is I normally cut them off. I used to try to get right in there, and I probably could. But the problem of it is that when you do that, you take a chance of actually tearing into the plastic, and that's not what I want to do. Even though you really may not be able to see it, it's just something I don't want to do because you don't want it to be one of those surprising factors where it's like, oh, well, there you go. Now you do see it. Also, let's see if I can get this to come in. Let's see. Is it going to? There we go. There is a little emblem right there. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand that off. And the reason why I'm going to sand that off is a few other things, which I will get into, is because I went to raisedecals.com. And if you haven't been there, you really should check them out. Got some really cool gauges. There we go. Actually, I think I'm holding it upside down. Yeah, I am. But, so, I will be using the gauge cluster. We'll be using the tag. Not sure about the seatbelts just yet, but there's all kinds of stuff. And it also has the emblem for the seat. It also has the underhood markings. I will definitely go check him out. He's got a lot of cool stuff there, and I will be using it for this build. So, like for the gauges and the dash, even on the door panels, and also on the web series, or I keep saying web series, on the video series I'm going to be doing. Now, this here, real quick, just to show you, it's not much different than just regular cutting a part off. So I get as close as I can to it, right there on the edge, and see how it does a nice, clean cut. And then what I'll do is I'll take my X-Acto blade and just cut a little bit off. Now, even though, see if I get it to focus, even though I cut into it, it's nowhere near as bad as it would have been because if you take a chance of cutting it long ways with the sprue cutters, it takes a chance of it snapping it off. But anyway, so what I'll do is I'll take the blade and I'll actually go across, kind of get it worn down, if you will. But on the video series I'm going to be doing of my friend's 68 satellite, I will be using the same decals, but for a 68 Plymouth, not a 69. Again, there wasn't that much difference. And I know I should be using a cutting mat, but time when I actually changed desk and actually get my workbench area set up, I'm just going to end up sanding this down anyway and getting it cleared out. So, but anyhow, there we go. And then I'll just trim that off or sand it off. But even though there wasn't much of a difference between the 68 and 69, there was still some subtle differences. Like I said, on the back, the whole back end was different. The marking was different. And all that cool jazz. So anyhow, we're going to get this cut off like so. All right. I'm going to go to the back. All right. All right. So now we got the backs cut off. Now, the next thing to do is get our glue. I'm going to match up the headrest and the rest of everything as much as possible. Hold it. Okay. All right. And there we have the seats. Now I'm going to let this dry. And we're going to start sanding it off. Now, what I like to do on that emblem is I use my number 4 blade here and just ever so gently, because I just changed this blade out, and this little sucker is sharp. And the whole thing I'm trying to do, and I got most of it off now, the only thing I want to do is I want to take off some of the high spots. So there you go. That way when I put that decal on, it will lay flat. Okay. Okay, I had to do it off camera so I can get a better look of it. So now it's gone. Now, normally what I like to do is take off the molded off let's see if I can get it on here. There we go. The next step is to remove those little guys. Now, on this here, I'll just go ahead and do it just like that. You gotta be careful because it will come straight off. You don't want it to, like I said, you don't want it just to come up and tear and snap off. Okay. And same thing with this. Now, what I like to do also is I will, I do cut these off. I know some people might be able to hold them on, excuse me, and actually use it to hold an alligator clip so you can paint it or whatnot. But when you do, this spot right here on the lip will be whatever color plastic. And I'll show you what, there we go. Now, I wanted to show, the reason I did that, I wanted to show y'all. Let's see. Oh, come on, I just had it just a moment ago. But, let's see if I can get closer to it. Because I wanted you to see the little tear. Come on. There we go. Now you see a little bit of a tear right there. This is why I always cut it. Now the thing about it is, this will actually be sit by the seat like so. So you're not going to see much of it. But I wanted to show you, this is why it's really not a good idea just to cut into it. It's always a good idea to leave a little bit of a flash and then just, go with it long ways. So that way it don't tear into the plastic and cut a chunk of it off, and then that'd be no good. Okay, so next thing here, get a little 400 grit. And just sand that down. Now this little lip right here is actually meant to be there as part of the trim. So you don't want to sand too hard and remove it. I just want to remove a little bit of that flash that was there. All right. And there you have it. Same thing for here. Just gonna get the same down. The reason I'll use 400 grit in here, for one, it's low enough to, you're not really gonna see much of it. And you'll probably think, well, okay, well, if that's the case, then why don't you just go ahead and just take the sprue cutter and just cut it and tear it like we did on that center console. Reason for it being is you may not see the little bit of scratches as it sits down, especially on a dark color you could. But the thing is, for you to see the scratches and how scratches work is if you think of the surface and the scratch itself is actually material that's been moved. So the scratch, so if my left hand here is a surface, the scratch may be down here. So actually when you see it, when you turn it just so right, you see those scratches because it's the light that's actually going inside the scratch and reflecting, bouncing all around and shooting back up, and you see the scratch. So in this case, it's not like you're going to be holding the seat directly out. It's going to be sitting downward. So you're really not going to see much of it, especially once the backs, especially once the front seats are right there on top of it. So I'll take a 400 grit down here and sand. Now, what I will do is when it comes to this little seam, come on. Man, I really can't wait till I get a camera. There you go. You see it right there. That's where it was actually glued on at. I will take a 400 there, but then I will follow it with a 600 grit to smooth it out. I'm not so much as worried about too much texture because you got to remember, this is a 69 Plymouth. And I shouldn't say just because it's a Plymouth, but it is a 69-year model car, production car. These are vinyl. So after a while, the seats do kind of get a little loose, and it does get a little loose and sag a little bit, especially as the cushion itself wears out. Like for example, I'm a 300-pound guy. I hold my weight well, thank you. Just in case anyone wants to make any kind of jokes. But anyhow, as you sit down, the cushion here begins to, not soften, but just kind of goes down to the weight. So the springs themselves lose their tension. So as the seat pushes down, you start getting wrinkles. So I'm not so much as worried about texture in that sense. The only time I really don't want to see scratches is on the body. So, and basically the first couple of videos of this video series is going to be of y'all getting to know me. There's that southern accent. Y'all getting to know me and just having fun. This is what this is all about. The whole thing's about. Once I get better work area and camera, and I get close up to where you really watch what I'm doing, and we get some music, and we'll just get to jive in and get to doing all this. But anyhow, so this is this next step. We're gonna wait for this to dry. I could go ahead and time to get these little suckers off. I'm loving it. I love these number 4 blades. But I'm not so much worried about the texture here. I don't want to gouge the plastic too much because a decal will take shape to it. But that's the whole point of the decal, is to actually have that texture. Let's see. Got a little too heavy-handed on that one. Let's see. Okay. So I got that taken off. Now what I will do, take a little bit of the 400 grit and go from there with it. And I'm not going to sand it too much. I don't want it because it's easier to take off detail than to add detail. Basically, I mean, yeah, I could. I guess anyone can come in here and add all the detail they want to it, but this isn't that kind of model. This is just supposed to be a simple and quick little fun build. But so what I'm just going to do is just take off just enough. Let's see, like so. And then what we'll do is we'll pull out the airbrush. We'll airbrush this, see where we're at with it. If you need to do more sanding, we'll do more sanding. If not, then we'll just move on. All right, so that is it for this. I enjoyed hanging out and talking with you guys. Next time, what we're going to do a little bit later is we're going to go ahead and get all this sanded down. Let's see, get this focus in. There we go. We'll get all this sanded down, and then we're going to get into the primer and painting. So please, I'm curious to see what y'all would want to see this car painted as. And what we'll do is we will go ahead and the most popular color wins. Y'all say red. More people say red than blue. You know what I mean? Then yeah, we'll paint it red. So, and then the next step, once we start getting, as far as assembly goes, the next step is we're going to take this off, which is the firewall and the inner fenders, and we're going to get them cleaned up. And also, we're going to do the radiator support. Now, one thing we're going to do, more importantly, just to kind of give it that clean build, is there you go. There's one little culprit. Is take off. There you go. Take off those sink marks. Now, this is a prime example of what I was talking about as far as scratches. The reason you see that in the light is because of the fact is, let me get my blade, is because this, well, mainly it's for the shadowing, but the light hits here, hits that inner wall, and comes out. So that's where you get the shadowing of it, and that's where basically how the scratch works. But anyhow, all right. So I will see you on the next video of the series.